Welcome to another episode of Nuggets of Wisdom. Today, I would like to share an insight that I received this morning. And you can read along with me on Acts chapter 9, verses 1 through 9. And these verses speak about Saul of Tarsus, also known as Paul, and his encounter with Jesus. So I'll be reading from the New International Version. And it says, Meanwhile, Saul was still breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. He went to the high priest and asked him for letters to the synagogues in Damascus, so that if he found any there who belonged to the way, whether men or women, he might take them as prisoners to Jerusalem. As he neared Damascus on his journey, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him. He fell to the ground and heard a voice say to him, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? Who are you, Lord? Saul asked. I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting, he replied. Now get up and go into the city, and you will be told what you must do. The men traveling with Saul stood there speechless. They heard the sound but did not see anyone. So Saul got up from the ground, but when he opened his eyes, he could not see nothing. So they led him by the hand into Damascus. For 3 days he was blind, and he did not eat or drink anything. So Paul was this educated Jew. He persecuted the church of God beyond measure, and he tried to destroy it. And he was very passionate and zealous about his ancestral traditions. So here we find him on his way to Damascus. And that part that stood out to me is that when Paul fell to the ground and he was blinded by a bright light that questioned everything he had done, that he didn't say, where do you want me to go, or what do you want me to do, Lord? But instead his response was, who are you, Lord? So I remember, that took me back, and I remember now the first time I accepted Jesus. See, God, when I accepted him, God didn't ask me to do things for him or go in representation of him. My first calling was to have a relationship with him. And the same thing when Paul asked, who are you, Lord? Like Jesus was calling Paul to a relation with him as well by disturbing him, his path, his journey, going towards Damascus. And then he was blinded for 3 days. So it's not anything that he could do. And during those 3, he was able to question, go back and really ask those questions, have that relationship with God. So we at times forget that our first calling is what our first calling is. And we want to jump into the boat that requires you to do something, when we first just need to stop and be still. And go, and because God calls us to a relationship with him first. If we don't take time to build our relationship with God, we're missing the point. We will have no foundation when the storms come. So I encourage you to go deeper in your relationship with God. Speak to him like you would talk to your best friend, like if he was right here in the room. God has given us imagination, that we're able to imagine. So imagine him sitting next to you when you're driving your car, when you're washing the dishes, or when you're doing any other activity throughout the day. And talk to him. Talk to him. Because the relationship that you build with him will be made stronger as you go deeper with him. As you're able to know him better, and you'll be able to hold on to his promises even more. So I pray that this nugget of wisdom will encourage you and challenge you to go deeper in your relationship, go deeper in your word as you go out throughout the day. God bless you, everyone.